Hello there folks, welcome back to the channel. Just made a nice little harvest of some purple sprouting broccoli there, and they've come from these plants in here, and as you can see I've staked them up to help them to stand strong against any winter winds that happen to have come along. And I've already harvested one of the main heads in the centre there the other day, but today I've just harvested some of this purple broccoli that you see right here. So there's a nice little harvest of that today, and I'm also going to take some of this East Frisian palm kale from this plant right here. And as you can see, I've been harvesting throughout the course of the season, and today is just another nice day to pick a little bit of kale. So there's some East Frisian palm kale right there. Don't like the look of that leaf there, so maybe not take that one. I think it's just been caught a little bit by the wind, but we'll ditch that one there, and I'll just pick another nice leaf from this plant right here. So there's a nice picking of East Frisian palm kale to go with some of that purple broccoli right there. And having a look around further, the perpetual spinach that has started to grow for the spring a little bit, and these were really late planted in late summer last year, and I've been harvesting right throughout the winter from these plants right here. And again, there's just a nice little picking to be had today. So we'll take some of these tender young leaves, which is something I like to plant it really late in the summer for, so you can have some nice tender leaves like these to harvest throughout the winter. So the perpetual spinach that I planted quite late, and we didn't get a lot of rain last summer, so leaf crops were a little bit, wouldn't say a problem, but they didn't get the rainfall that I was really looking for. So I've got what I've got right here, which is a bonus, and anything that you pick from the garden at this time of the year is just really valued, you know, because it's only the 2nd of March today, so a little bit of picking at this time of the year is really lovely. So there's some nice pickings here, and there's some chard that has remained throughout the winter over there. So if we just hop over here, I'll be able to have a look at this chard with you today. And there's some nice chard in there, which is really quite nice. So we'll take just a few nips of this plant right here, and if you get a really cold, very icy, frosty winter, then chard can sometimes not survive. But I planted these for some late in the season autumn picking, which I got some really nice leaves from, and they've managed to survive the fairly mild winter that we've had. We've had a lot of rain, tons and tons of rain, but not much in terms of ice and snowfall. So these chard plants have pulled through the winter, which is again a bonus. So I'm just going to pick a little bit more from this plant right here, and I've got this net over because we do get a lot of foxes coming into the garden, and they like to bury pigeons that they catch or vermin in my garden. So I put nets over things to stop the foxes from burying things that they've caught that they want to come back for in a later date. So that's why the nets are there. Plus you also get issues with pigeons occasionally pecking things when food's scarce, and I don't want them to eat me food. So the foxes and the pigeons are kept at bay with just a simple net like that. And there's some nice picking there to be had today, which is really nice. So I'm just going to go and put this with the other stuff that I've got up here. So there's a nice bit of picking there today, and since I last spoke to you, I've relocated some of my Jerusalem artichokes from this bed over here, and I've done 2 new rows underneath here. Again, I've just got this bit of scaffolding net over the top to stop any foxes that visit the garden from digging. But obviously at this stage of the year there's nothing to show you happening in there, but the artichokes are in there, and I'll put some pictures on the community post of what I've done to set these in, and you can go and have a look at that if you choose to. So there's more Jerusalem artichokes in there, 2 nice rows. I did a row at the back, 14 inches apart I went for this year because the tubers were quite large that I replanted, and then I've zigzagged them in a row forward from that. So if there's one there was a zigzag to that one, then back to there and back to there and back to there and back to there and back to there in a zigzag pattern. So I've got 2 new rows, and I'm going to relocate a few more today in other places. So yeah, and I'll be taking whatever's in there out and taking some home to do some cooking. So that's that. And there's other things that's starting to show signs of life, and this is over here. And these are me Allium fistulosums, or Welsh onions, which is something I really love. And these have started to grow back for the year, having been planted in autumn last year, and I put some nice manure around them just to really give them some nice rich soil to grow in, which is something that they respond quite well to. And there's a few little stones here which need taken away, but there's me Welsh onions coming up really nicely. And there's some earlier planted ones which were over there, and then I did some later splits, and that's what these ones here are, and these ones. But as you can see, these ones over here, they bunch up like chives, these Allium fistulosums, and they're really lovely plants to call on. And you get a really big bulb at the bottom when they're fully developed, and they're very much like spring onions, but much larger, but they're spread like chives. So when I planted these in, there was just a single specimen put in the autumn in each one, and as you can see, these have turned into several, and the bunches just get bigger and bigger and spread like chives if you allow them to. And then you can relocate them and plant them as individuals, and then you can have a big bed from a small space, if you know what I mean. So when I move these on, you can create a nice big bed of these Welsh onions, and then enjoy the lovely bulbs that you get from them, which I'll show you when it comes to harvesting time later in the year, that you get from these lovely plants. So Allium fistulosums coming away nice. Growth on me strawberry patch over here, and there's a few leaves that need to be clipped off that have went a bit orange and brown in the winter, and I'll do that today. A little bit of weeding to do in here. There's a little bit of bitter cress coming up down there, which I might leave and then stick it in the sandwich one day, because bitter cress is really nice eating. But that's me little strawberry patch, and there's a little bit of paper over there which is blew in from somewhere, so that needs to be removed. But yeah, strawberry patch for this year. See what I get from them. And fruit wise, these are really nice big vigorous strawberry plants, these, so when they actually do get going for the year, they bunch together really nicely in the spacing that I give them, which is 30 centimeters apart, and they hold each other up, and the fruits, and you always lose a few to slugs and snails. And I'm going to make some things this year, raise boxes to plant some other strawberries in that I got in the greenhouse to do them away from the floor. But I just wanted a bed in that was many plants, so I'd have a good amount of fruits and flowers coming on. So that's my little strawberry patch over there. And the garlic chives are really coming away nice in this raised box here. And again, another really lovely plant that I like, the garlic chives. And I might take just a little list of harvests today and just take maybe the top third of some of these leaves. They're only really just getting going, but we're wanting to knock up a lasagna underneath. So a little bit of garlic chives to go with lasagna is really lovely. So garlic chives are growing, which is dead canny. Signs of life on me oregano, a beautiful herb to have. And yep, that's where the garlic chives are at, and they're looking nice. And there's other things to be picked. There's some Sutherland kale down here, which have produced well over the course of the winter, and even now we're into the beginning of March, they're still knocking out nice foliage. So I'll take a little bit of this Sutherland kale today as well, which is nice. So again, some more nice pickings, and I'm maybe going to pick some of me Russian kale, which is over here. So I'll have a nice little mixture of all three, because this is a really lovely plant. And these ones over here I'm going to let go to flower, because I like to eat the flower stems from kale. They really are quite nice eating, and there's a nice flower stem on this Nero kale right here. So if I just move this net a little bit, I'm going to get this flower stem from this Nero kale. So let's have a better look at it. So there's the plant right there, and the flower stem is really good eating. So I'm just going to snap that off, like so. And you can eat kale flowers and all that lovely foliage that goes with it. So that's a really nice bit of eating right there. So we'll have that. And I'm also going to have some of me red Russian kale, which is over here. And like I said, we didn't get tons of rain last year, so in previous times that I grew these, they were a little bit larger than what they've been this time round. But as long as I get something to pick, I'm happy enough with that. But they are really lovely, these red Russian kales, and they're not a mega tall variety like say the East Frisian palm kale over there is, but they just are a good producer. Really tasty leaves off these red Russian kale. So if you've not grew these before, give them a go. And if you've never ate kale flowers before, give that a go as well. So nice little bit of picking there today, which is dead canny. So I've got some greens, which is lovely. I'm currently digging over this area here, because this is where I'm going to put my broad beans, which I've got hardening off outside at home. And I've put the black plastic over just to soak up a bit of that sunlight and warm up the soil underneath. And I'm going to dig in some garden compost into there, but the soil itself looks quite nice, and you can see there's a lot of weedlings in here. But this was an area where I did grow a lot of wildflowers and a little bit of a wildflower bed, but I took that away, as I mentioned that I would do in a previous video, and I've got somewhere nice now to grow me broad beans. Pretty pleased with that soil, that looks alright to me. And I did put a sprinkling of manure, well rotted manure, over the top of here in the late winter. Well, it was sometime in January, I can't remember the date, but sometime in January when I took this bed away, I got some well rotted manure, sprinkled it over, and then I covered it over with this tarp here, and the end result is that soil there. So that looks nice to me for the broad beans. So that's where they're going. And I'm just going to do a little bit of a harvest of some more Jerusalem artichokes today, just to show you that even on the 2nd of March there's still nice artichokes in here. And I'm going to have to get a move on with relocating some more of these, but I have got 2 rows over there, and I've got a few in some little mini rows just underneath that bit of metalwork there, just again to stop the foxes and the cats digging and unearthing me planted tubers, which are the spade's depth down, with a bit of well rotted manure in there, sprinkle the soil over the top, set me Jerusalem artichokes in, and then cover them over. And as they poke out of the soil, I'm going to mound up the earth around them and make a raised mound, you know, in there and over there. But today, well, let's just see what's still in here on the 2nd of March. So just going to gently lift this up, see what's underneath. Soil's looking nice, which is lovely. So let's see what's in here today. Sorry, I went a little bit off focus there, like, but there's one right there, and you can see that the mild weather that we've had in late February and the start of March has meant that they've started to grow a little bit, which is why I'm going to get some set in today. But I'm going to take the rest home and I'm going to make soup out of them. So there's one right there, which is really nice, and we'll see what else is in here. There's bound to be some more. There's another couple right there. and a one there. So there's a few there, which is dead nice, and we'll have a look and see what else I can find. So just bring my fork over and have a look underneath this bit of plant here. So again, just gently lift that up, see what's underneath. There's another one, nice. Some more, and another. Cool. 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 So yeah, they're still coming out, and yes, I know they've started to regrow just that little bit, but it's not normally as mild as what it's been. And yesterday it was 13 degrees, and for the right at the beginning of March, that's quite warm. So that's why early growth has happened. But the food itself is still good to eat, so I'm not bothered if there's just little shoots on them. And like I say, today I'm going to relocate and plant some of these in, and you can see there's roots coming, but if I get them in quick, then they'll sit there and then they'll find their feet and get going. So you can still plant them in even when there's little roots on. Just be really gentle when you do it, and they will, like all plants, just grow on. But best practice is to get them in before this happens, which is why I've got that row already set in over there. But that's nice. I'm going to take them home today, so I'm just going to break off all those shoots, because I don't want them to grow anymore. I just want them to be taken home and eaten, so just take that away, and the same as that. And the tuber itself is still good eating, so that's going to be going along with the lasagna tonight. I might make artichoke chips to go with it. So lasagna and artichoke chips, lovely, lovely stuff. Really healthy vegetable, Jerusalem artichoke, so I eat them really regular, and they're just really good eating. Great winter food, and you can keep on harvesting and harvesting and harvesting right throughout the winter. So like I say, that's really lovely, and there's just a little bit more picking there today, some artichokes. I am going to have to get a move on. Oh, there's a penny in that, lucky, put that in my pocket. But yeah, I'm going to have to get a move on, and I'm going to maybe do just one run here, and the rest of the bed is going to be for something else this year. So that's the plan there. And I've got some nice picking of them to go with the other food that I've picked already. And that's a little bit of a look at my garden today. I've got some work to be done, and there's a few things popping up seedling wise in the greenhouse, so I'll get my work done, and then I'll come back and I'll show you what it is that is popping up in the greenhouse.